Edit Derived Text is a way of extracting information from the LSS survey database and presenting it as annotation on the screen. We can see examples of the kind of things that you might want to do with this command. We have labelled a tree with its type, height, width and species. We've labelled a link feature with its description, horizontal distance and level difference. We've calculated the area, perimeter and average level of a surface feature within the survey. And we have also annotated a station with its name, eastings, northings, level and scale factor. And I'm now going to demonstrate each of these commands in turn. We're going to begin by looking at Edit Derived Text Point. What information do we want to annotate for a point? We may want the point feature, the description, the coordinates, the feature size, the feature height. The number which appears in this column will be the line number that it will appear in the final text. If we want to move an item down, then we can deselect it and reselect it. That line moves from line 6 to line 7. And we can save all of these selections as our default for next time. We can also add up to 4 lines of notes. This is just free-form note. Choose the text style we want to use for this annotation. Whether or not we want a border or a margin around the box of text. And also whether we want a background colour. We can pick any of these colours, but if we choose this striped option, this will make the box opaque and therefore will overwrite everything which appears beneath it. We can control the text justification and also the margin around the text. If any of this information contains numbers, then we can control the number of decimal places for the display of those numbers. And also which pointer type we want. We're going to select an arrowhead. We can also fix the text to meters on the ground, so that if we plot it at a different scale, it will always remain the same size on the ground. Next, we'll present us with the pre and post text information, which again we can save as a default, and the information that we extract from the database will appear between the post text and the pre-text. OK, and we can now select the point feature that we wish to annotate. And the notes can be entered here, and you'll see the text which is overwriting everything underneath it and can be moved around, and the arrow follows the text. Please be aware that once this derived text has been placed in the survey, it doesn't matter what happens to this point feature, the information within that box will not change. Therefore, if we want to edit any of the text, we would use the Edit General Text command to manually change any information within that box. As a result, it's important that you only perform the derived text command towards the end of your LSS survey editing. We now come on to derived text line. We're presented with a similar dialog to derived text point, but of course we can select things like slope distances, slope values, level differences, link heights. But again we can choose borders, background colours, offsets to the text, and whether we're going to display to a certain number of decimal places, what type of arrow we want, and also whether we want to select a link or two endpoints. Because of course derived text line doesn't need to refer to a link feature, it can simply be a line between any 2 points or any 2 coordinate positions. Edit derived text surface is a very powerful command, and it can either be used to annotate an existing surface feature that's been added to the survey. It can be applied to a single triangle in the DTM, or it can also be used to fill in the extents of a enclosed area. But bear in mind, if there are gaps in that enclosed area, then it will bleed out into the remainder of the survey, so be careful with this. If I turn on the surfaces in this survey, you'll see that I've already predefined a surface area, and I'm going to use this surface area as the limit for the annotation in derived text surface. Here I'm going to define the description, and if I wanted to calculate volumes I could do so here. I've got plan area, plan perimeter, slope area, slope perimeter, min, max and average levels, plus a selection of notes. Whether we want a border around the text and whether we want a background behind it. Text justification, number of decimal places to display areas, volumes, surface heights, etc. Enter the pre and post text annotation, select the surface and add the annotation. And finally we come on to edit derived text station, whereby we can define station name, description, eastings, northings, level, scale factor, the status, which will be fixed, adjusted, unadjusted, and so on, plus up to 3 lines of notes. And as before, we can define the text style, the border, the background color, text justification, number of decimal places, and the type of pointer that we wish to use. But again, it's worth reiterating that with all of these derived text items, if the characteristics of the feature to which they are attached changes, although the arrow will move with the point, the information within the text box will not change.